Trump just appointed unhinged neocon Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. So much for Donald Trump draining the swamp. Marco Rubio is an unhinged neocon who supported every single war under the Joe Biden regime. Marco Rubio is a genocidal freak who cares more about fighting for Israel than he does the American people. And he is obsessed with going to war with Russia. This shows that Donald Trump will pursue regime change once again in Venezuela, that he will double down on the Cuban embargo and sanctions on Cuba that the entire world opposes, and that he will also pursue endless conflict against China. All the grifters who painted Donald Trump as the peace candidate has a lot of explaining to do. Oh, and Donald Trump is just getting started. He appointed the biggest Zionist Karen in the world to the UN. Elise Stefanik is a Zionist psychopath who gave a speech to the Israeli Knesset promising them that she will protect them from Americans protesting the state of Israel.
Today, this means crushing anti-Semitism at home and supplying the state of Israel with what it needs, when it needs it, without conditions to achieve total victory in the face of evil. There is no excuse for an American president to block aid to Israel, aid that was duly passed by the Congress. No excuse, full stop. That's why I'm proud to have sponsored or backed every measure to aid Israel that has come before the United States Congress. Every single one.
She then proceeded to go on an insane anti-free speech crusade where she threatened colleges who refused to expel students for protesting against Israel. This would eventually lead to her getting Harvard President Claudine Gay fired because she refused to crack down on the free speech of her students.
Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric.
And is it anti-Semitic rhetoric?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board.
Whatever happened to Maga standing up for free speech? We told people at Hotspot that Donald Trump's team floated Mike Pompeo and Nikki Haley as cabinet members as a complicated head fake. I tried to warn Trump supporters for over a year that Donald Trump will betray them and staff his cabinet with deep state swamp monsters. Holy shit, Donald Trump is literally appointing the dog killer as head of the DHS. Maga cried over a dead squirrel, only to appoint a dog killer to a top government position. Maga is completely cooked.
What's poppin'? What's poppin', my friends? My family, we are back again. We got banger after banger. As always this week, welcome to another week of RBN. I am joined by my beautiful chocolate brother, JB Fine. What's poppin', brother?
Hey, bro, we are both grown and sexy up on this channel. So good to see you talking about geopolitics, talking about MAGA swamp. We're talking about blue MAGA swamp, red MAGA swamp. Man, we might as well be in Louisiana trying to catch some gators up in here.
Oh, yeah, bro. It's about to be one of those days, man, because a lot of MAGA people who thought I was their friend, they're going through some things. And I told you guys that I've been waiting for liberals to get out of my way so we can go after MAGA. And now we're in a glorious situation. It continues to get better because not only are we in a situation where we get to enjoy the meltdown from the genocidal liberals who are going through some things. They are now openly transphobic, blaming trans people. They attacking Latinos. Bro, liberals are going through some things, and I've been greatly enjoying it. While we're enjoying the liberal meltdown, we also have MAGA that is melting down, and we can enjoy that because now MAGA is realizing that Donald Trump planned on selling them out in less than a week. So now we get best of both worlds. Bro, can you imagine if the genocidal Democrats would have won? But now we're in the best of both worlds, where the Democrats are they was punished for supporting genocide, And now we have MAGA that was going to be quickly humbled on the world stage because it's obvious the direction that Trump is going. And JB, I'll pass it to you, brother. The direction that Trump is going, because he relied hardcore on sanctions. He is putting Ukraine war hawks in his cabinet. They brought double down their aggression against China. Trump is going to cause a boom of inflation. You guys think Trump is going to solve inflation? Trump said he's going to put tariffs on countries who want to abandon the U.S. dollar. Guys, you understand how much we're going to be fucking hit with inflation when Trump's horrible ideas are implemented? I can't wait to see MAGA get humbled on the world stage. They are destined to be humbled. Vladimir Putin is about to eat this boy like a fucking breakfast snack. Am I right, JB? What's popping, brother?
Yo, look, okay, so here's the thing. And I'm trying to tell people, especially Black Americans, who are like, oh my God, well, Trump, he's going to kick out all the illegals. And I'm like, bro, do you not realize that Trump's buddies are the dudes on Wall Street that depend on the exploitation of undocumented immigrants that are coming across the border? He ain't going to do nothing for the illegals that are coming across the border. In fact, he's going to keep it coming. He may slow it down, but he's not going to stop it because ultimately what he's going to do is keep up the sanctions in places like Venezuela and Nicaragua. He's going to keep this stuff up so that it keeps the undocumented immigrants coming over. He's not going to end the drug war. So the thing is that they're being played. People who supported Trump are being played just as much as people who supported Harris. And we tried to tell them, but they didn't believe us. And now, guess what? They're going to get played by billionaires once again. Oops, upside your head. Oops, upside your head. That's what's going on right now. And people are sick, and people are going to get sick and tired. Mark my words. What is it? It's November 12th. And November 12th, 2025, you're going to have a whole bunch of people who are MAGA that are going to be pissed off at Trump. Watch.
Dude, you're cooking right now, bro. You're cooking. Now, you guys know I'm laughing. You guys know all we have is I told you so. And I think people are like, oh, well, Nick, what have you won? Oh, the working class is struggling, boo-boo. Don't trust me, I understand. Oh, trust me, I understand the working class is struggling, boo-boo. How do you guys think I cope with this? The only way I can cope with the dire situation that's happening in America. Guys, the United States is cooked. What's going to happen is we're going to have a global revolution against the United States, and then we will be able to live in other countries sanction-free. And that's what I'm looking to. JBR, you better look at your fucking catalog, because after what happened, after seeing how regressive many progressives are, the only thing we have left is the resistance, my friends. Russia, China destroying the United States and allowing life to be livable outside the United States, because people don't realize we're being cooked. We're being cooked because we keep losing. So I'm in a position right now, guys, where I told you so. You understand? We only have, as a working class movement, this opportunity to educate Americans who continue to vote and support for the corrupt assholes. And we're going to have a hard conversation. And this is why Trump supporters who thought that we was friends, they're deeply mistaken. Because I told you guys over a year ago, and I risked it, guys. I told you guys, like, I know this from reading theory. I know this from studying and understanding the mindset of the capitalists and how they are addicted to imperialism, how a capitalist want nothing more. Whenever they criticize each other, they don't criticize each other because of ideology. They may take advantage of that, but they want to be the one who runs the empire. And I understand that Trump was always a person who just wanted to fit in with the machine. This guy decided to run for president because he was dissed by Barack Obama at a fucking dinner. Remember that political roast Obama roasted this mother? I'm going to get this nigga. And to be clear, he did get him. Donald Trump didn't run under the populist idea of destroying the evil elite. And if you believe that, you are a child, and I am not going to let you live it down, Dave Smith, who I'm ratioing right now on Twitter, Tucker Carlson, and many people. I am not going to let the MAGA frauds live this down by pushing this fraudulent asshole.
Yep. And by the way, Nick,
wait, feel free to interrupt me talking. You know I ran, but feel free, brother. Go ahead.
But this is the same guy they voted for. Donald Trump is the same guy that gave money to Kamala Harris. Yeah. So you mean to tell me that This dude who actually believed in Kamala Harris enough to send her money, now you're going to side with him because, oh, you think he's going to make America great again? He's going to make America great for who? Because to make America great again was never for you. It was for the billionaires. It was the people at the top.
He was friends with the Clintons, JB. He was friends with Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Like, he was friends with Joe Scarborough. He was on the show. He wine and dine. Trump just wanted to be the ruler of the ruling class. He didn't want to liberate you. Go ahead, Jake. I'm sorry. We're just going to have fun stream.
Look, Trump cares as much about you as Biden cares about the rest of us. And the thing is, we've been trying to tell y'all for as long as possible. And here's the thing. You know why so many people who are especially on the left who knew Obama was bad before people like me knew? It's because the cabinet positions that he put in place.
Yeah.
You will know a president by how they populate their cabinet. So those of us who are on the left, we knew that Obama was crap. We knew that Trump was crap. We knew that Biden was crap. And now Trump is coming back in and he's now filling his cabinet with crap again. And guess who's going to suffer? You. Guess what? You're going to suffer just like you did under Biden. You're going to suffer just like you did under Obama. And people are sitting here going, oh, well, it's only one cabinet appointment. It always starts with one. It always does. And then it grows and grows and grows. Chia. And then guess what? You're going to be left holding the shit back. It's crazy.
Dude, people thought that the guy who hosted The Apprentice would be the one who overthrew the United States empire, the most violent criminal empire that we've ever seen. People thought a game show host would have convinced them to dismantle themselves. Now you guys see why I am holding these people accountable? Why I'm laughing in the face of Maga who was betrayed? I am begging people to read theory, read history, and understand class dynamics. And these people organize on the culture war, JB. They don't organize on class lines. They don't organize on the class lines. They organize on the culture war. And then they confused when the capitalists who agree with the rabid hatred of gay people then betray their class interest.
Yeah.
We're gonna fucking have a fun time making fun of these dumbass Trump supporters like Dave Smith, like Tucker Carlson, and many of these people they're on Twitter right now, like, oh my God, I hope Donald Trump changed direction. Oh, I'm sorry, I was so wrong. We're taking the L. Dave Smith told me that we're taking the L. I'm not taking the L. You took the L because you're a libertarian and voted for someone who advocates for giant government spending in the military industrial complex. And he said, no, we're taking the L. No, you're taking the L, sir. And everyone in MAGA, all the libertarians who voted for someone who's a big government neocon, who's friends with other big government neocons, and they think they're fucking libertarians.
Yeah.
All right, JB.
While cheering on sanctions and cheering on the CIA going into countries and destabilizing these countries, who's spending money on those groups that are destabilizing these countries? Where's that money going?
Where is it going?
Yeah.
You know how we're built different than the fake right-wing populists because they think Trump is anti-war. They think Donald Trump is anti-war. We're built different because I understand that Donald Trump is an unhinged neocon because of his aggressive use of sanctions, and economic sanctions is an act of war. I understand that policies are not what we see our current reality is not necessarily the result of what's happening right now, but what leaders have done over the course of the last 4 or 8 years. So if you're on the right, and I see a lot of Republicans on corporate media like, oh my God, why American troops being attacked in the Middle East? Why do you think that's happening, assholes? That's happening because Donald Trump killed General Soleimani of Iran. And Donald Trump continued to steal Syrian oil and illegally occupy the state of Syria. And then people on the right like, oh my God, Biden made us so unsafe. Biden is the reason why United States soldiers are being attacked. No, that was Trump, asshole. And
Also,
there's levels to this shit. And none of these MAGA bootlickers understand how U.S. foreign policy actually works. The reality we're living through right now is usually the result of what the president did before. So the reason why Russia invaded Ukraine, because Donald Trump armed the banderites in Ukraine. Do people understand this stuff? Are Americans really this unserious, JB? I know you want to chime in, so go ahead.
Yeah. So also, because conservatives like to talk about fiscal responsibility, right? Wouldn't it be more fiscal responsibility to lead through diplomacy so that we wouldn't have to spend the money to go to war, so that we wouldn't have to have a bloated military budget? And yet you guys go, oh, well, we got to fight these people abroad. Who's spending that money? Who is that money going to? Because it's damn sure not going to you. It's going to Ukraine. It's going to go to Israel. Guess what? I guarantee you, you guys better have the same smoke for Biden sending money to Ukraine and Israel that you will have for Donald Trump sending money to Ukraine and Israel. Have that same energy. Because if you're not, then guess what? You are a hypocrite.
I told you guys, because all I have is I told you so, right? I predicted that Donald Trump won't end the war in Ukraine. You got to know Russia's response to the quote-unquote peace plan that Trump proposed was pure laughter. So Donald Trump's transition team proposed a Ukraine peace plan that will keep Ukraine in NATO in 20 years, which is already a non-starter. Then you will have to demilitarize the border. You know, the border that Russia is dominating? So Russia has no incentive to demilitarize the border. And then Donald Trump said that in order to make this peace plan work, we're going to have neutral European soldiers patrol the neutral zone. So, hey, Maga, why will Russia agree to this? Why will Russia, who is currently winning this war, agree to have NATO European troops literally patrolling in Ukraine? That makes zero sense. And remember I told you guys Trump not going to end the Ukraine war. And he's not, because these people have no idea what they're doing. And then you have people who actually make a living as a political commentator that says stuff like, well, Trump, he has this unique plan. He's going to pull Russia away from China. Then what Vivek Ramaswamy, Tucker Carlson, and many idiots said. So, you know, Russia, who has a neighbor who has unlimited funds, China, one of the biggest economy in the world. Why the fuck will Russia ever go away from China? And why would China trust anything in the West say? They have a giant economy in Russia who is geopolitically dominant, but they're going to choose the United States when Putin has already said he doesn't trust negotiating with the West anymore? Oh, bro, MAGA is about to get cooked on the geopolitical world stage, and I can't wait to see it, because these people are absolutely delusional about what's going on right now.
Yep.
Now let's go through some receipts. Any last takes? Actually, I'll read some super chats. This is a good stopping point. I still got plenty of receipts for you guys. It's gonna be one of those days, bro. It's gonna be one of those days. Tomorrow we're gonna have our comrades and our friends from Midwestern Marks who've been doing good work. So today you guys get Nick and JB. Then we got Midwestern Marks coming on. Wednesday. I'm trying to put together a panel for Friday. I got a few guests lined up, trying to coordinate time. So, we got a lot of better content this week. So make sure you please like, share if you're enjoying this. I'm going to read a few super chats, and then I continue breaking down Trump's unhinged neocon cabinet, literally less than a week, and Donald Trump already completely sold out. And guys, he told RFK Jr., he like, hey guys, thanks for the endorsement. Peace out. Bye. RFK Jr., It's just like, oh, fuck. They realized they got played by the duopoly. So Donald Trump, after convincing RFK Jr. to drop out because he thought he was going to get a job, now Trump is like, I don't know about that, bro. Shit. Anyway, I'll read just a few super chats I saw. Big shout out to Christian Ruiz for the solidarity super chat. Our friend Old Crow. Yeah, we're going to get to that. Don't spoil my presentation, brother. We're going to get to that. The dog killer. Actually, I did spoil already with the hotspot. So MAGA melted down over the Democrat killing a squirrel in New York, only to support the dog killer, Kristi Noem. And isn't it interesting? Like, the thing that I always try to use to radicalize white people against the police is when I bring up the amount of police officers who kill dogs. So when the police officers kill human, you fucking better obey the law. They can do whatever you want. The state can do whatever they want to you. If you disagree with the state, if you don't follow the direction of the state, the police officer has the right to kill you. God forbid these motherfuckers have anything happen to a squirrel, though. The shit that Kristi Noem got from, and I think it's disgusting too, because I love dogs. I love animals. But her execution, her fetish, like execution of her pets, Bro, she was canceled, and Trump is even telling them, like, nah, bro, I fuck with the dog killer. Bro, she got so much shit. I never had time. It wasn't important enough to do a segment over it. But isn't it interesting how white America, they love them some, they get teary-eyed over some shit that happened to some pets, but they see a dead Palestinian children being burnt alive. They don't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
They value animals more than human life. Very weird. Anyway, then for $10, Italian Stallion. I voted Jill, but I knew Trump was going to be bad. But I'm not going to lie. I did smile when Kamala lost. It was the separatists defeating the Galactic Empire in battle. Palpatine controls both. I said before, it doesn't matter who wins. You guys see how I approach it the same. No matter what side of the ruling class win. It's the game doesn't change. But if I was to pick, and if you was to ask me my preference is we need the pendulum to swing as much as possible. Mm-hmm. We can't let any faction of the ruling class get too much momentum. When that happens, when people get 2 terms, you get Obama, who escalates his bomb in the second term. You get George W. Bush Jr., who develops a well-oiled war machine that destroys the Middle East. So we need, and I'm not saying this is like anything revolutionary, but we need as much disruptions in the ruling class as possible. So if you ask me who I want to win in 2024, I hope Maga loses in 2026. Because we need as many pendulum changes as possible, and that's just my position based on what I've seen in my lifetime. When you get these motherfuckers 2 terms, especially the dire consequence of giving the ruling class a mandate to commit genocide, that would have been horrific.
Yeah.
So this is what I said, and I'm gonna share some receipts earlier. Dave Smith told Carlson sold Donald Trump as anti-war to their large audiences. Now that Donald Trump is appointing a cabinet full of neocons like Marco Rubio and many others like Mike Huckabee, he was announced as Israeli ambassador as well.
Oh, gosh.
Dude, it's getting worse by the hour, guys. By the hour, it gets worse.
Woof.
When are these people going to be held accountable? Because there are people who thought that Donald Trump was anti-war. And remember, guys, I have smoke for the propagandist. I'm actually very forgiving of the people who are victims of the propagandists. Like if you follow like a MAGA propagandist, I view you as someone who's a victim of propaganda. And I view people who advocated that people vote for Donald Trump. They're no different than Cenk Uygur. So now Dave Smith, he was a big Trumper, threw all his credibility away because he used to criticize Trump in his last term about with Syria, anti-war in general. And then because he made a calculated decision, because Dave Smith is not dumb, my friends. Dave Smith is not a dumb guy. I listen to this motherfucker, I'm like, man, bro, there's a good chance this motherfucker might cook me. Because he's smart. You know what I mean? So when you see people get stuff this wrong when they're this smart, just know this guy made a calculated business decision to buddy up with MAGA. That's all it is. So now that MAGA is openly selling out his base, Dave Smith is now trying to save face. Marco Rubio is a disaster. Might as well give Liz Cheney the State Department. And I explain here, it literally made no sense for you to ever paint Trump as anti-establishment and anti-war. Hold the L. We have a few strangers here. I think it went well considering how much bigger his account is than mine, that I got a mini ratio out of it. What he said, and this is the excuses people are going to use. Oh, shut up. I never portrayed him as anything other than what he is. He has an unprecedented opportunity to right now, and if he blows it and put the war party back in power, we all take the same L. Yes, we take the L because people like you mislead your audience about who Donald Trump is. And he said he didn't portray him as anything that he's not. But if your message, not explain this in our tweet thread, the message is if you didn't tell your audience that Donald Trump was going to betray his supporters and appoint neocons exactly like I said, you misled your supporters. Tucker Carlson misled his supporters. Then last one I'll read, I'll move on. Yeah, we are all screwed because people like you misled your audience on who Trump is because you wanted to capitalize off of the MAGA crowd. The United States is dog shit. And the guys, people wonder why I have so much heat for these duopoly pushers. Why do I have so much heat for Crystal Ball? For the Vanguard, Kyle Kalinske, David Pakman, Mike Figueredo. What they do is a legitimate detriment to the working class. What Dave Smith did when he betrayed the anti-imperialist movement by supporting Trump has a detriment of the working class because the average worker don't have time to read and fact check these bums like I do. So you have workers being misled by David Smith, the Cenk Uygur of Twitter, of the right. What's the difference between them and Cenk Uygur? Cenk Uygur, he says good stuff. Cenk Uygur, he's for healthcare, JB. You know that? You know Cenk Uygur is for the increased minimum wage? You know Cenk Uygur is he's good for good stuff, but it doesn't mean anything because he supports the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
You pretending to support good stuff, it doesn't mean anything if you support the duopoly. In the era of independence and third-party voters supposed to be okay with duopoly pushers like Dave Smith and other people, it has to end. When do we become aggressive as third-party activists and call these motherfuckers out who mislead the workers about Donald Trump and Joe Biden? Because so I'll finish my tweet. I'll pass you, Jay, because I know I went for a while. The last part of the tweet is the United States is dog shit. And the working class continue to suffer because of opportunists like you continue to advocate for the two-party duopoly. And why do they do it, JB? They do it so he can get invited on the MAGA panels I saw him on. He rubbed elbows with fucking all these right-wing influencers. They want to be part of a social club. Do you guys see the difference between RBN and these other grifters? I don't give a fuck about being a part of a social club. I didn't join politics to be socially accepted. And these people make a calculated decision that, I think MAGA's going to win this shit, bro. So I want to be on the winning side. So I'm going to sell out all my principles to be on the winning side. And that is Dave Smith in a nutshell. That is all these people who supported MAGA on the lead up this in a nutshell. And now these motherfuckers on Twitter trying to save face. Oh, man, I'm going to criticize Trump. It doesn't matter. You gave him all your power, motherfucker. Donald Trump, guys, is not running for re-election. He only can run for one term. So how are you going to call him? How are you going to hold him accountable, big boy? Go ahead, JB.
No, I mean this reminds me of people who are like a Sam Cedar type. Like they'll go, well, we need to go with somebody who we can actually fight against. And this is just the MAGA version of, well, we can fight against Trump. Like, no, you can't. Because the thing is that he's part of the same swamp that Joe Biden is. And the problem is that people believe that Donald Trump, these are the people who believe that Donald Trump is the lesser evil. This is lesser evil voting from on the right. And the problem is,
sorry to interrupt, but if you read a lot, there's hundreds of comments here. I can't read it all, but I literally have Dave Smith people in my comment section saying, like, yeah, man, you're right, but what else can we do? He was better than Kamala. You guys see Dave Smith in their audience. They cultivate lesser of two evil thinking. Sorry, JB. I apologize. Go ahead, brother.
No, exactly. And the problem is like lesser of two evils. That means you're still voting for evil. And the problem is that we actually have people like, look, even if you're somebody who's on the right, you had somebody like Chase Oliver for the Libertarian Party, but some of y'all didn't want to go with him because you're so stuck on identity politics, and you're so stuck on, the culture war that, the fact that he's gay, you guys don't even want to go with him, even though, according to libertarians, he's right on the money on everything, or most things at least. So, but you guys didn't want to go with him because he's somehow, because he likes men. You know what I'm saying? And this is the part that really gets on my nerves, because people in these circles, within either circle, will focus on the culture war so much that when, like, for instance, the MAGA crowd will focus on the culture war so much that they want to go up against somebody who's a worker just like them, just because a person may have stubble in their face and they want to wear a dress. So what? They're workers just like you, and they actually want to overthrow this system and actually make something that's more equal and equitable. It's like, put your bigotry to the side and actually work with them. Like, get out of here, man. And that's the thing. It's like you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. And this is the problem with a lot of these people, the propagandists, because they will tell you, oh, you need to hate these other people because they're not like you, when in reality, they are like you. And the thing is, like, if you start to look at them through eyes of like seeing yourself in them, then you realize, oh, snap, we're all being played. We need to go after the elites. But they don't want to go, the elites don't want you to go after them. The elites want you to go after somebody who's a little bit different than you, just so that you can fight against each other while they're running out the back with all the money. And what are you going to get it through your head, right? This is why when I talk about people like Donald Trump, he's actually not going to fight for you when it comes to the border, because ultimately he's not going to stop the sanctions that go into Nicaragua, Venezuela, or any of these other countries. He's going to keep the sanctions going, which is going to keep driving people here. And the thing is, like, he's going to keep making us into victims. He's going to make two sets of victims. He's going to make the victims of the people who are undocumented immigrants. He's going to make you, the worker, the victim too. And to all my Black Americans out there, guess what? Let's say hypothetically he shuts the border down and kicks out all the undocumented immigrants. Do you really think that the exploitation is going to stop? Hell no, because guess what? No, because guess what? You're going to be the chattel again. You're going to be the chattel again. Guess what? We already have our people that are in prison right now that are chattel still. So guess what? Oh, yeah, cheer for them to cut down, to stop the border. But guess what? The system still is in place. And if the system's still in place, then guess what? You're going to be the next person that they're going to be exploiting even harder than they were exploiting the undocumented people. So we got to change the system. Stop putting Band-Aids on this bullshit. Because the problem is that every single time you put Band-Aids on it, guess what? The blood's going to come up. The Band-Aid's going to fall off anyway. You need to sew this system up. You need to break the system down from the ground up. And people like Dave Smith and Cenk Uygur and all these other types, they're always telling you to put Band-Aids on a gaping wound.
Yep. And now you got to see why I despise the culture war. Longtime viewers of RBN would know this, because you got these poor white boys, poor as hell, no chance of ever owning a house. They upside down their car, haven't been to the doctor in a long time, but they vote Republican because they're tired of the liberals using gender pronouns.
Yep.
Oh my God, the trans people, they're in the bathrooms. Oh my God, I'm gonna vote against my material needs, my material interest. That's poor white people in America in a nutshell. And I laugh because that's how I cope with being surrounded with idiots. That people vote for billionaires on the culture war issue. Because if you look at Missouri, for example, these same right wingers vote for a minimum wage increase, vote for Medicaid expansion, vote for paid sick leave, vote for affordable housing. So the right and these poor white people, they were economically populist, but then they completely yeet that. They delete that, and they're willing to sacrifice that because of the culture war. And now you guys see why I look at people side-eye when they push that? Because the culture war is pushed by people who want to disrupt a class solidarity. That's why you see millionaires push it. That's why Tucker Carlson pushes it. That's why all these millionaires fucking push the culture war, because they don't want us to have class solidarity. They want us to organize along culture war issues. And there's another conversation to be had about poor white people making a sacrifice out of race loyalty, because they don't support healthcare, because that means Black and brown people will benefit from it as well. So they take the hit in order to maintain race loyalty. But that's a conversation for another day that I don't think a lot of people are ready for. Anyway, let's get back to some receipts. But I told you guys, man, I've been waiting to go after these MAGA people. I told you guys, now that the liberal class is gone, we're going to continue to laugh at them. But now it's time to expose the fraudulent Zionist MAGA agenda, the anti-free speech fraudulent MAGA agenda. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to let these people hold it back, because I went on every show whenever people bring up free speech. I remember I was talking about this with Glenn Greenwald before, where I said, I don't think that Trump and them represent free speech because of how they cracked down on Israel. This is before the genocide. Mm-hmm. The kind of stuff I would bring up to Trump supporters whenever they say they support free speech. And now you have MAGA that is openly And they have openly advocated for cracking down on the freedom to assembly. Donald Trump said if you hate Americans, you're not qualified to be president. This is after Joe Biden said that all Trump supporters were garbage. Then Donald Trump said that everyone who protested against the genocidal state of Israel are terrorists. Oh, MAGA, wait, I thought it was uncouth to criticize the American people. So there are polls that show the majority of the American people, including Republican voters, support an arms embargo on Israel. So despite the fact that the majority of the American people do not support the foreign policy of Israel, the position of Donald Trump is that every single American who protests Israel is a terrorist. So that's Donald Trump, a billionaire, smearing the American people because they're not loyal to Israel. Is this
Nick,
your boy, MAGA?
Let me ask you this. Does this mean that in Donald Trump's eyes, Sneeko is a terrorist?
Yeah, those idiots like Sneeko who we talked about the other day. The MAGA agenda is not for Israel. No, you a dummy who was convinced by another dummy that MAGA either supports your agenda, and that's the best case rating of it. I think they're grifters, to be honest. I think these people know. I think they know what they're doing. They see the fact checks coming from MAGA. You guys see the right wing media sphere. They dominate because that's where the money's at. So these people, they say stupid shit in order to get some right wing viewership. They'll say, "Oh man, I think Donald Trump is fighting against the establishment." Oh, really, bro? Try harder. Anyway, let me read some receipts. This is the person, and I said the world stage is about to become even more unbearable because Donald Trump appointed the biggest Zionist Karen of all time. Well, I won't say that. I think that may be a little bit hyperbolic. There's a lot of Zionist Karens out there, but trust me, she's up there. You gotta know Elise Stefanik gave a speech at the Israeli Knesset. And she gave a speech at the Israeli Knesset promising Israeli genocidal politicians that she will return to America and advocate for censorship on their behalf.
I thought they were free
Treasonous behavior is normalized. That's treasonous behavior in any other rational society. She went to a genocidal state that has a prime minister that is convicted of war crimes. And then she went back to America and she promised the people in Israel that she would go back to America and fight against our constitutional right to free speech.
That's crazy, man.
How does it get worse than that? And Donald Trump saw that and he said, I'm going to give her a job. And I'll have this clip prepared. I may find it for another show, but there's a clip I showed a very long time ago of Trump praising Elise Stefanik because she got a Harvard professor fired on behalf of the Israeli lobby. Now, if you guys don't believe me, and I'm following this Zionist extreme Karen for about 2 years now. So when I saw her join the MAGA train and once her team up with Donald Trump, I knew that motherfucker sold out 2 years ago. Ever since he got close to Elise Stefanik. What did I tell you guys during my speech in Chicago? What did I say? I said, don't listen to what a politician says. Pay attention to who he hires. The fact that Donald Trump was ever next to her showed that he always planned to sell you out, and they never care about free speech. So you understand, this clip I'm about to show you, they fired Claudine Gay, who is a Zionist herself. You guys realize that the position of the Harvard presidents is we believe that pro-Palestinian protests are disgusting and anti-Semitic. That was the position of Claudine Gay. The reason why they went after Claudine Gay is because she said, even though I believe these pro-Palestinian protests are deplorable, I think they have a right to free speech. You guys know that what she said? For all the people who know that Claudine Gay is anti-Semitic, that is literally what she said. But that wasn't enough for Elise Stefanik. Let's listen to the video. In this moment here, JB, and when Claudine Gay was fired, is that second I knew that she was going to become a superstar. I already knew that the Zionist was going to put a rocket ship on her. And don't be surprised if you see President Elise Stefanik in 2036 or something because we don't choose our presidents. Israel does. And now she got a nice cushy job at the UN. She was rewarded and made a superstar because of this.
Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric. When it
And is it
crosses into
anti-Semitic rhetoric?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric, when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
So the answer is yes, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context.
You see what's happening here? Claudine Gay is like, bro, you can categorize your speech however you want. It doesn't matter if you call it with them advocating genocide. They have the right to free speech, meaning protesting against the government. She's like, nah. If you don't support the genocidal campaign of Israel, you are calling for the death of all Jews and you should be expelled. This is the person that Trump hired. Let me finish the clip here. It's literally one of the most insane clips, and this was celebrated even on liberal media. I saw Morning Joe do a segment where they praised Elise Stefanik for this. And they was mad because they were like, I can't believe Elise Stefanik. She one of the good ones. I can't believe she turned out to be a Trumper. Like, so liberals loved her before she was a Trump surrogate. But let me finish the clip.
It depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board.
And she got to resign. And the second that Claudine Gay resigned after this, honestly, superstar performance by Elise Stefanik. And I'm talking about by the establishment point of view. This was a star-making moment, and she was guaranteed to be on the Trump team the second she did this. JB, any thoughts? I'm sure you got some more Elise Stefanik receipts. Anything you want to add, JB?
Nope, you're cooking.
I'm gonna show you guys this. This is a big shout out to Wyatt Reed for tweeting this out. So the Zionist Karen, she's already promising that she's going to be a Zionist Karen at the UN. So another strong veto power for Israel. But look at this here. CNN reported on Sunday that Trump offered the role to Stefanik. Rep. Mike Lawler wrote that she will take the United Nations by storm, take on the anti-US and anti-Israel bigotry, and combat Jew hatred. I told you guys that MAGA is no different than shit libs. They all engage in identity politics. Oh, look at the little victim talking about anti-Israeli bigotry. Why? Because they hold your country accountable for committing war crimes? So she got hired by Donald Trump with the pledge of being a Karen, criticizing and attacking the UN for trying to hold Israel accountable. Now, to be clear, because I never want to confuse my working class brothers and sisters, right? I never want to confuse you guys. To be clear, there's not going to be much of a difference here. Because the Karen behavior of Elise Stefanik is essentially exactly the same thing we've seen. I forgot her last name, Linda, the person that Biden appointed to the UN. Mm-hmm. What's her name? I forgot her name. I think it's Linda something. Let me see. Linda, I'm going to find her name. Biden UN ambassador. I forgot her name.
Oh, I forgot.
But that black lady, Linda Thomas Greenfield, I think. The same thing that Elise Stefanik plans on doing is what Biden already does. I never want to give you guys the impression that there's like these giant differences between these parties. Trump is going to govern exactly. Oh, I should say, I apologize. Donald Trump is just a puppet. Marco Rubio is going to be the president the same way that Anthony Blinken was the president.
Mm-hmm.
You guys think this game show host he don't give a fuck. He's gonna post on Truth Social, do a few camera ops, and you're gonna have Marco Rubio in the executive office cooking.
Yep.
Because he's gonna be the true president.
Yep. And meanwhile, you got a female Jonathan Greenblatt that's now going to be, in the UN.
Man, there's so many of these Elise Stefanik receipts, but I'm gonna speed this up for a second time. Here's one more, and then I'm gonna show you guys some more cabinet members that Trump is picking. She says no excuse for any American president to withhold aid to Israel. So Elise Stefanik and the MAGA people who believe this, you are factually wrong. Like, it's not a leftist opinion. This is not me being a radical communist. You are factually wrong when you say this, because it's literally illegal, according to the Lay's law and international law, to provide arms and munitions to countries who are committing war crimes and acts that violate international law. So you literally not even telling the truth. So this is terrorist ideology. So at least Stefanik believes she's fighting terrorists. White people believe they fight terrorists, even though white America, they're the biggest advocates for terrorists ever. Because they advocate for that. Me and our friends, we are above international law. You know those laws that we have on the book? That's only for black people. That's, you guys realize when they say this stuff, that's what we hear. Because at least Stefanik and Republicans, they believe in harsh, authoritarian law and order when it comes to the working class. But when it comes to white collar crime, oh, come on, man. When it comes to literally war criminals, like Benjamin Netanyahu, all of a sudden they abolitionists, James. They like abolished the ICC. Oh, I thought abolition was bad. When it comes to holding the ruling class accountable, the conservative turn to a fucking abolitionist. But when it comes to weaponizing the police state, they're like, hell yeah, send more police to the subway. You live under a police state, not the ruling class. The ruling class, we have a relaxed, laissez-faire, libertarian interpretation of the law. According to the workers, we need police officers everywhere in the subway. We need a police officer in the school. Do you guys see how absurd this society is? And you guys see how absurd it is that anyone will paint a movement who believes in this as anti-establishment? Ooh, I'm so glad I can go after these scum now, the liberals out of the way. James, I'll pass to you going once, going twice.
You cracking me up. I love it.
Now, I'm having a blast, man. I've been waiting to drag these motherfuckers for a while. Let me pull up some more receipts. There's the Guardian article that I was going to read, but I don't got a lot of time to actually read it. I've been ranting for too much. You guys see the headline. I think the headline's enough here. Trump builds hawkish team with Marco Rubio, and I think that Mike Watts. Oh, yeah. I didn't have time to cover Mike Watts. My hotspot only had 3 minutes. I didn't have time to really talk about Mike Watts, who's a guy. I got a lot of receipts on him, too. He essentially was saying that Ukraine should have the right to strike into Russia. He's the most diehard anti-Russian psychopath you can find in the Republican side. And Donald Trump gave him a job as national security advisor. Marco Rubio is also someone who suffers from Putin derangement syndrome. So that prediction I made 2 years ago is looking pretty saintly, guys. When I told you guys that Donald Trump is not going to do anything about the Ukraine war. Don't listen to the rhetoric. Pay attention to who they hire.
Yep.
Ooh,
absolutely.
You guys right. I said, you guys don't take care of me. Watch that blood pressure. Yeah, you guys right. I got a lot of receipts to fit in a short time.
So, do you mind if I read something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, man. I need a break anyway.
Okay. So this is out of Margaret Kimberly's book, Presidential Black America and the Presidents, right? And one thing that she puts out on under James Monroe. Now, you would know this name, President James Monroe. He is basically behind the Monroe Doctrine, right? And the Monroe Doctrine basically says that Monroe was infamous for many reasons. He was a slaveholder, accelerated the theft of indigenous lands to hasten the spread of slavery, and declared that all of Western Hemisphere, North, Central, and South America was the domain of the United States. The policy that came to be known as the Monroe Doctrine was buried in the annual message of Congress on December 2nd, 1823. And the Monroe Doctrine says the occasion has been judged proper for asserting as a principle in which the rights and interests of the United States are involved, that the American continents, by the free and independent condition in which they have assumed and maintained, are henceforth not to be considered any subject for future colonization by any European powers. In other words, any further efforts by Europe to colonize parts of the Americas will be treated as an act of aggression. Now, I'm going to move down. It says in 2019, Donald Trump's national security advisor, John Bolton, asserted in an interview that the U.S. would have the right to take action against leftist governments in Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua, simply because they are in the Western Hemisphere. In this administration, he said, we are not afraid to use the Monroe Doctrine, a legacy that ought to have been thoroughly discredited and instead is used to commit aggressions nearly 200 years later. So this is the type of person that Donald Trump is. These are the type of people that Donald Trump puts into his office. He puts neocons in his office because he is a neocon. Birds of a feather flock together.
I remember Mike Pompeo. He's the United States ambassador to Israel. I think I saw Max Blumenthal tweet out how in 2015 he compared the UN criticizing Israeli settlements in the West Bank and anyone protesting Israel by BDS. He compared that to the Holocaust. These are the psychopaths that we're dealing with. And you see how happy the establishment is about these Trump picks? I can show you guys these receipts all day. There's all the establishment bootlickers. And I saw this article and I saw MSNBC talk about it. Like, man, there are a lot of people in the DC establishment. Actually, I do have this article, so I got to find it. When it was like, man, I think a lot of people's questions about Donald Trump should be, everyone should be eased. Their anxiety should be eased after seeing them pick these state swamp monsters. How Ukraine and NATO, they are now less anxious after seeing Trump pick Marco Rubio. Look, this is a neocon here. Amazing pick with Marco Rubio for Secretary of State. It's a bad day to be a dictator in Latin America. So Donald Trump and them tried their best to overthrow Nicolas Maduro, and now they're going to try it again. Now, speaking of Marco Rubio, we need to get to him next. But here's Elise Stefanik. Look, here's these MAGA people. I think he's a Tucker Carlson satellite guy. I don't know this guy that well. But look, you got these people, these MAGA people who are literally celebrating this Zionist Karen being chosen. This person who advocates for a crackdown on free speech for America on behalf of Israel. Here's some takes you've seen from MAGA. Elise Stefanik has accepted Trump's offer for a U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. This administration is going to be stacked. And Ben Shapiro, he was literally so excited to see the people that Donald Trump was appointing. So you have the Dave Smith types, the people who was critical, Tucker Carlson, who's critical of Ben Shapiro. How are you guys reacting seeing that Ben Shapiro is ecstatic about the choices that Donald Trump is making? Doesn't that say something? Here's the dog killer. It gets crazier as we go, guys. I got too many receipts today. It gets crazier. So the person that he hired at the head of the DHS literally crafted a bill that was designed to crack down on criticism of Israel by Americans. And what she called the bill, she says the quiet part out loud. You can't even make this shit up. She called this bill ensuring the security of God's chosen people. Ew, brother, ew. What? So remember how I told you guys how Christian Zionists are the most pathetic motherfuckers in the world? You have Christian Zionists, and Christian Noem is a Christian. You have Christians calling Zionists who hate their guts and supporting their claim that they are God-chosen people. Name me a more cucked ideology than Christian Zionist. They're literally calling Zionist Jews God-chosen people, making bills called the security of God-chosen people. And this is the person that Donald Trump appointed to the DHS. She's going to send DHS agents to crack down on anti-Palestinian protests on behalf of God's chosen people. And people thought this faction was anti-establishment. Dave Smith, my brother, not really. Dave Smith, you supported this. You supported this. All the anti-Zionist MAGA grifters, you supported this person who believes that Zionist Jews are God-chosen people. Candace Owens, you got a lot of explaining to do. Because that grip,
you have some explaining to do.
That grip by Candace Owens looking pretty sus, isn't it? So as everyone was celebrating Candace Owens, RBN, Savvy Savs, we looked at her with a side eye because she was still a Trump supporter. As people fall for a fucking stupid ass grip or her pretending being anti-Zionist as she supports Donald Trump, watch all of a sudden her criticism of the Zionist entity go away. It's gonna go away because she is subservient to her MAGA handlers. So she was one of the people that would pretend, oh man, Donald Trump got a secret plan to get rid of Zionists. Clown shit. Go ahead, JB.
Let me ask you something. Christine Noem, you said she's a dog killer, right?
Yep.
Okay. So
she said, she's like, I hate this fucking dog. This dog always barks. So one day I took her in my truck, pulled a rod out, and I put a bullet right in her head. And she wrote that shit like she was cooking. And then conservative people heard that shit. And it was like, motherfucker, what?
Okay.
But sorry, go ahead, JB.
People got more smoke from Michael Vick than they did for her?
Yep.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. So Michael Vick does dogfighting. You guys want to put him under the jail. But Christine Noem shoots and kills a dog, and you ain't got no smoke for her?
She smoked him, bro. I remember I ignored the story for a long time, and then I saw how much outrage she got. Like, bro, I saw an interview when she went on Fox News, and the dude was like, bro, you realize that you take any chances of you being part of the Trump team after this now, right? He like, bro, you killed a dog. Like, bro, she was getting grilled because the story is literally insane. She was explaining how the dog was annoying her because she was a bad trainer. Like, for one, everything she said about her dog is a result of her being a bad dog owner. So because she was a bad dog owner and the dog annoyed and barked and he's harassed people, she said she took this dog, put her in her truck, dug a grave for the dog, had the dog sit down. She put one bullet in her skull. And then she told the story. Listen to it if you're interested. I don't got time. Find the audiobook version of her book. It's her. She literally bragging, and she sounds so enthusiastic about putting a bullet in this innocent dog. It was so bad, she was immediately canceled by the right. Which is why her appointment is shocking, considering that, bro, it wasn't the liberals that the liberal establishment did make fun of her. But trust me, she was crucified by Fox News and the right as much as the liberal establishment. I know, guys, because I went down a really weird rabbit hole one day. But anyway, that's the side story with her. And it shows how much Trump don't give a fuck. And Trump appointed this dog-killing scumbag, Kristi Noem, because Kristi Noem was a Trump loyalist. She said a lot of nice things about Donald Trump. And that's all it took for Donald Trump to get his fucking dog killer a job at the DHS. Will you give Mike Vick this job, motherfucker? Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, JB. Feel free to interrupt me. Let's get to Marco Rubio. I might have to cut this long. We already an hour in. I had a segment on Bernie I may say for tomorrow. We may do it today. We see. But remember when I told you guys that I said last week I was making jokes. You know, I'm a jokester. And I said that we're going to see Bernie Sanders and AOC start tweeting about Medicare for all now that that Donald Trump is about to be president again. So then, literally right after Donald Trump leaves office, all of a sudden Bernie Sanders go on CNN. This motherfucker started talking about Medicare for all again, a program that he completely forgot about. But anyway, we may do that. That may be our last segment. But here's Marco Rubio. And now you have these dumbasses in MAGA that is acting confused. They're now being confused because they realize that billionaires and their children lied to them. So this is a banger tweet by Dan Cohen because Donald Trump Jr. sent out this tweet in response to Dave Smith because he's like, oh man, we got to keep Dave Smith loyal to MAGA. So this is Dave Smith saying, oh shit, man, if he hired Mike Pompeo, we're screwed. So Donald Trump Jr. said, no, don't worry. He said, I'm on it in response to Dave Smith begging America first to reject the war machine. Because remember, Dave Smith sacrificed all his credibility because he was selling to his audience that the American first movement was against war. So in order to save face, you now send these tweets out like, oh my God, Trump, you got to represent us. Remember, we're making an anti-war movement. I thought we was anti-war. So he sends out this first panic tweet, which does really well. Big credit to Dave Smith. 6.3 million views, 79,000 likes. So Donald Trump Jr. saw this, and he decided to lie to his base. And Donald Trump says, hey, don't worry, Dave. I'm on it. I'm here to make sure that not one Zionist is appointed in Donald Trump's administration. And you want to know what this fucking sucker said? Dave Smith, that fucking sucker. His response was, hell yeah, man, you're the man. You guys see this bootlicking bullshit? Donald Trump Jr. lying to his audience, lying to their base, an obvious lie, and Dave Smith was like, yeah, man, you're the man. You're the man. You guys see how these people are so thirsty for access? Dave Smith is critical of the U.S. empire until anyone in the U.S. empire acknowledges his existence. And now he's all for Donald Trump because he get replied to by his son. You guys see how this works? You guys see why I'm blacklisted? Because I don't do this bullshit. I'm not here for access. I'm not here to be part of a club. My fucking club is my brother JB, our RBN community. The people who share like and values. I'm not trying to rub elbows with Donald Trump Jr. like these motherfuckers, Dave Smith. So after Donald Trump Jr. promised his base that they won't hire a neocon, Donald Trump immediately went to hire a neocon and Marco Rubio. And now you have the dumbest people, the people who, well, he is dumb because this guy here, he's a propagandist. He was one of the people, and I can show you guys tweets like this all day of these annoying MAGA grifters who existed to mislead the working class. These people was projecting the fact that they're anti-war. They said, well, Trump gonna be anti-war. And now they're going through some things, JB. And now they have to rationalize, and now they got to address to their supporters why they painted Donald Trump as anti-war. So look at this dummy. Marco Rubio is a neocon. Not sure why Trump nominated him for Secretary of State. Hey, JB, it's a mystery to him. It's a mystery why a capitalist Zionist neocon appointed another capitalist Zionist neocon.
Yeah, it looks like Sherlock Holmes is going to have to
American culture. Sorry, go ahead, JB. Go ahead.
Yeah, it looks like Sherlock Holmes is going to have to research that one. He's going to have to investigate that one because, oh my goodness, Donald Trump.
Why did the Zionists appoint the other Zionists? These are the questions these are the deeply serious questions we are seeing on MAGA Twitter right now, guys. I could spend another 30 minutes showing you these fucking people like Dave Smith and this Wall Street Silver guy who they painted their whole credibility around Trump being anti-war. And now they got, oh, I don't know, man. I don't read any theory, man. I don't have any class analysis. I don't know, man. How Trump appointed Marco Rubio, oh, man, who could have saw that coming? You see the storylines? Who could have saw that coming? The same thing that Cenk Uygur does. When the Democratic Party betrays him and Cenk Uygur was proven wrong, he didn't say, oh, man, who could have saw this coming? That's what the MAGA people are doing. You guys see how Ragged MAGA and Blue MAGA are the exact same? And the only answer and the only way that I will be willing to work with you, willing to show you benefit of the doubt, is you're a post-duopoly. Now, there are a ton of European people. I have Ozzy Crusade, few other people who are European, who was like, man, I know Trump is not great, but as a European, no, Ozzy Crusade is a Russian patriot. You had these Europeans on my channel said they prefer Trump. And the reason why they said they prefer Trump, and I actually give Ozzy Crusade a pass because he's not American. He don't follow American politics that closely. But he was sold the idea by these Trump supporters that Donald Trump was going to decrease NATO presidents. You guys see how these people get all the smoke from me because they are the people who misled people into thinking that MAGA was anti-war?
Yeah. I mean, these are the same people that saw John Bolton and the Trump administration, a neocon, and then they suddenly forget. How do you forget that mustache? Like, You forget that the walrus was actually in the Trump administration, and now you got little Marco. It's like, come on, man. They're two peas in the same pod.
So now the real game began because it's easy being the opposition, fam. It's easy just criticizing the us. I agree with the fact they're hypocritical, but what's the MAGA supporters about to do? What's the MAGA supporters about to do? Now, to be fair to Rand Paul, I don't know if he caved. Someone in the chat let me know, but I remember like a week or two before the election, he said, "I'm not sure if I want to publicly endorse Donald Trump yet because of his position on government spending." But you have all these people who critical of Marco Rubio. Here's Rand Paul absolutely laying into Marco Rubio. I'll play it and then I'll comment after that.
Be less involved in foreign war.
How do you view Hillary Clinton in terms of her foreign policy views?
I see her as a neoconservative. I see her I see her and Rubio as being the same person.
He said he views Hillary Clinton and Marco Rubio as being the same person. So, MAGA, you realize that Donald Trump hired the equivalent of a Hillary Clinton. Are you okay with that? I'll let you continue.
They both want a no-fly zone. They both have supported activity in Libya, the war in Libya that toppled Gaddafi.
I'll tell you, I'm gonna have a fun time roasting these MAGA people now. The liberals out of the way, man. It's glorious. Maybe I'll let continue.
In Libya, the war in Libya that toppled Gaddafi, an intervention that made us less safe. They both have supported pouring arms into the Syrian civil war, a mistake that I think allowed ISIS to grow stronger. And they both have supported the Iraq war. So, I mean, what's the difference?
So Hillary Clinton and Marco Rubio are the same person. How do you define a neoconservative?
Somebody a lot of times who believes in big government, both domestically and internationally. And so many of the big neoconservatives came out of a movement. They were Democrats mostly. They were some Marxists and socialists, but they were people who ultimately came to believe that we needed a big government involved internationally as well. So a neoconservative often is a big government person for domestic policy and a big government person for internationalism. And I think actually Hillary Clinton fits the bill probably better than any, but I think she's also the most likely of all the candidates to get us back involved in another war in the Middle East.
And you've called Libya.
So all the libertarians who voted for Donald Trump, and these are the people I was arguing with. I was having a fun time arguing with Dave Smith, who's a libertarian. He's a libertarian, but vote for Trump, the big government spender, the guy who believed in a giant police state. I had Lion Cosgrove from the Grayson, who is a legitimate libertarian. We had legitimate libertarians on our show, and they despise Trump. They despise Trump. I had Lion Cosgrove on. He's a libertarian. He's explained how he agreed to meet with open borders because that is not a left position. That's a libertarian position. You guys, MAGA, hey dummies, you guys realize that open borders was not proposed by the left. It was proposed by libertarians who don't believe, and I still don't believe, that the government can tell me where I should live. They believe in the freedom of movement. So supporting strong border bills is anti-libertarian. Yep. That's not a far left belief. But Americans are so ignorant. They think it's a far left idea. Open borders is a libertarian idea, guys. People don't know that, though. Libertarians are uneducated. They don't know the real ideology. And then I talk to a real one. They're like, yeah, Lion Cargo, like, y'all don't believe in fucking borders. They don't believe in police states. Libertarians are supposed to, they was the original abolish the police people. Now you got libertarians with the fucking blue stripes flag, the stand with the blue. Anyway, here's Tulsi, who's put in a very interesting position. Big shout out to Dan Cohen, friend of RBN. He tweeted this out, so I'm going to give him credit. Tulsi Gabbard threw her lot in with Trump, portraying him as the anti-war candidate, which he did endlessly over and over again. Gabbard denounced Marco Rubio, though, James. So Tulsi is put in a very strange position. And Tulsi, just like RFK Jr., is learning the hard way what happens when you fuck with the duopoly, because Tulsi Gabbard won the Secretary of State position, but they gave it to Marco Rubio, the neocon, instead of Tulsi. Don't you feel fucking stupid for supporting this party? But anyway, let me show you what Tulsi Gabbard says here. I wonder if she's going to keep the same heat on Trump now.
I think it would be a huge mistake for President Trump to choose him because he represents the neocon warmongering establishment of Washington, D.C., which stands diametrically opposed to the very policies that President Trump has always stood for. Going
bullshit, bullshit. And meanwhile, the MAGA idiots, they love her. I saw Jackson Hinkle like, yeah, point Tulsi Gabbard. You mean the genocidal Zionist, you clown? The person who painting Trump as anti-war? Are you guys fucking serious?
Oh God!
Absolute fucking grifter here. And what makes this clip even funnier is because Tulsi Gabbard was opposed to Marco Rubio being appointed as vice president. The vice president is a figurehead. You guys realize the Secretary of State has more effective power than the vice president. So if you was disopposed to Marco Rubio being vice president, you better be twice as loud as this motherfucker being appointed as Secretary of State. Let's see if Tulsi gonna live up to it. There's gonna be a lot of these MAGA clowns who failed the test. They're gonna fail the test. Anyway, I'll let it play all the way interrupted. My guys, my bad.
I think it would be a huge mistake for President Trump to choose him because he represents the neocon warmongering establishment of Washington, D.C., which stands diametrically opposed to the very policies that President Trump has always stood for, going all the way back to when he ran for president in 2016 through that first term in office, and the things that he's talking about wanting to do now. And it would send the wrong message to a lot of folks who are very concerned about the fact that we are on the brink of war with Russia and China and Iran and North Korea. If Marco Rubio is his vice president, then that is what we will face, and it will cause a lot of people to question what kind of foreign policy will actually be executed. Will it be the one that Trump wants and stands for, or will it be one that will continue the deep state neocon warmongers who've gotten us into the mess that we are in now? I think.
Bro, she was worried about him being vice president. So, Tulsi, everything you just said is guaranteed to happen now that Marco Rubio is Secretary of State, aka the real president. Oh, it gets funnier. It gets funnier, guys. It gets better. Because there's so many Trump supporters who don't even realize that Donald Trump has already been completely cooked. He's already cooked. I said many times before that Trump won in 2016 because he ran as a somewhat populist who criticized the Clinton Foundation for its corruption. Now he ran as a Reagan Republican. There wasn't even pretending him being anti-establishment. He accepted $100 million from Miriam Alderson, I should say. And people thought that he took that money for free, that they paid him for free. So this is what Donald Trump used to say, guys. This is what his criticism of Marco Rubio used to be before he openly sold out his supporters to the swamp. Sheldon Alderson is looking to give big dollars to Rubio because he feels he can mold him into his perfect little puppet. As Donald Trump took $100 million and was molded into the perfect puppet of the Aldersons. Now he's literally selecting people who their careers was made by the Aldersons, like Marco Rubio and Elise Stefanik. You literally can't make this shit up. The same criticism he had of Marco Rubio. Now, one more thing I'm gonna show you guys about Marco. Now I have like so many receipts. I gotta say some of these for tomorrow. I have Midwestern Mark join me for tomorrow. Now, this is Marco Rubio. This is the person that Trump is hiring. Let me play this clip and then I commentate afterwards. This is the person who's going to be Secretary of State.
Senator Rubio, will you call for ceasefire?
No, I will not.
Gaza?
On the contrary.
Senator Rubio,
are you filming it?
Wait,
so I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes. And I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians that are being killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. So Hamas has stopped building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So you don't care that 15,000 have died? You don't care about the babies that are being killed every day?
I think it's terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame. That's what I think. Make sure you post that, please.
So that's Marco Rubio endorsing collective punishment, which is a war crime, by the way. Punishing populations for what your enemy is doing because Israel is so weak and it's so ineffective. They can't pinpointly, accurately going after their enemies. So the position of these neocons is that if you can't defeat a resistance group, you then kill as many civilians as possible and then blame it on the resistance group. It's an ideology of a terrorist. So Marco Rubio, his position is, if you are a terrorist, international law no longer applies, as he advocates for terrorist ideology. That's the average. This is the average position of, this is America. This is Marco Rubio. This is white America who props him up. This is their belief. Zionists occupy America. And guess, JB, who woke up? Guess who was sharing this clip? I found this very interesting. I saw this earlier. I had a pretty viral tweet talking about it. You have this guy who was a Kamala supporter, a liberal. I am seeing these liberals now post clips of stuff Trump said. I saw a Morning Joe segment where they were like, oh my God, now Trump is going to let Netanyahu loose. As if Biden was doing anything to restrain him. And now there are these new wave of liberals that is proving my point. Remember my point I made a long time ago that pissed off a lot of DSA nerds? Where I said the Democrats are the most effective evil? And if you want to pick a side, based on what side you think is easier to resist, you just choose the Republican Party. Because it's harder to resist the establishment when a Democrat is in charge because liberals go to sleep. Yeah. So now that a Republican is about to become president, you have all these liberals that say, oh my God, have you heard what Marco Rubio said about the Palestinians? Look at this. Here's some shit live. Well, new Trump Secretary of State picked Marco Rubio told everyone what he's going to do to the Palestinians as Secretary of State. Is this what America wants? You guys see now, all of a sudden, liberals are now talking about Palestinians. Now that the Republicans in charge, now they're bringing up the genocidal rhetoric that is coming from Congress, which we covered on RBN from day one. Now do you guys see why I say it's better when a Republican wins? Because now all of a sudden liberals are going to start paying attention and shit. They're going to start quoting genocidal politicians, and now they care about this stuff. James, I saw you on mute. Do you want to chime in?
Yeah, really, this is just hypocrisy at its highest. And I'm just like, well, why didn't you say this when the Democrats, with Democrats were saying the exact same things? You're basically it's making it look like, oh, well, the Republicans are going to be more horrible to Palestinians. I'm like, the Lancet already reported an estimated 200,000 dead. So, I mean, you're still essentially, rooting for the murder of Palestinians when your blue boy does it, but when the red boy does it, then it's like, oh, well, this is horrible. We can't stand for this. It just doesn't make sense. Like the math ain't mathing. And so I look at people who are propagandists for either blue MAGA or red MAGA, and I'm just like, you're all lost, man.
Yep. Yeah, I mentioned this earlier in the stream, but just to wrap a bow on this segment, just because I put this receipt in this order for some reason, this is what I showed earlier, and this is what I mentioned on Twitter, how MAGA is about to become completely humbled on the global stage. Mm-hmm. So MAGA complained about inflation, JB. They think inflation is a problem now. What do you guys think inflation will look like after this threat, and if Donald Trump follows through on the threat of putting 100% tariffs on countries who want to pursue de-dollarization?
He's going to be
what
just
do you
like
guys think will happen to inflation if this happened? Go ahead, James.
He's going to be just like Biden. You don't know how I know? Can I share this really quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Feel free to share whatever you want, brother.
All right. Let me share my screen really quick.
This idiot has no idea what he's doing, and he's about to get cooked. MAGA and their neocons are about to get cooked on the geopolitical world stage.
This isn't Donald Trump. This is Biden. Fact sheet. President Biden takes action to protect American workers and businesses from China's unfair trade practices. Take a look at this. So these are tariffs that Biden is doing. Steel and aluminum. The tariff rate on certain steel and aluminum products under Section 301 would increase from 0 to 7.5% to 25% in 2024. Look, semiconductors, it will increase from 25% to 50%. Electric vehicles, from 25% to 100% tariffs. Right?
And Trump is going to double down on all of these tariffs because technically China is pursuing de-dollarization. So that means all tariffs on Chinese goods. But do Trump understand what this? I mean, do MAGA understand what this idiot Trump is about to do? He about to try to wage war against the de-dollarization process that can't be stopped. And his team is already floating more sanctions to punish countries to get off the dollar, to put tariffs. He's going to tank the dollar faster, and it's going to lead to more inflation. Bro, the election was just the start of the hilarity. Guys, next year we're going to be exposing this. But sorry, James, I know you want to continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, and what MAGA doesn't realize is that Donald Trump is just an orange Joe Biden. And that's what we're seeing.
Yep.
And so you guys are saying, oh, well, he's going to put tariffs, which is going to limit, these countries. And the tariff, what they don't realize is that these tariffs, which are the same ones that Joe Biden has, and Trump may even expand on them, they're going to pass these prices over to consumers. And once you pass it over to consumers, guess who's going to be paying more? So guess what? The inflation is going to go up, up, up. And guess what? You guys think eggs are expensive now? Well, shit, you guys can be paying an arm and a leg and a spleen for it too. Because guess what? The exact same thing that Biden did is the exact same thing that Trump's going to do. Because remember, who kept Trump's tax cuts in place? Oh, Joe Biden. So a lot of the stuff that Joe Biden kept in place, you bet your ass that Trump's going to keep them in place too. Joe Biden and Donald Trump are two sides of the same coin, and we've been trying to tell y'all. But some of y'all don't want to listen. And then now you guys are getting stuck holding the bag because you guys didn't want to go outside the duopoly. Because you either thought that Kamala Harris or Donald Trump were the lesser evil. Well, now here you go. You got evil.
Very well said. I think I'm going to do the Bernie segment next because it shouldn't take too long. Probably shouldn't make any promises, though. I just have one more receipt to show you guys. The stream is already going way longer than I planned. I'm trying to find one more receipt here. Here we go. Let me show you guys this. And so we are making fun of Trump and their delusional aspiration for the geopolitical world stage. Trump's message, and I've been paying attention to this very closely, guys. They've been saying they're going to advocate peace through strength. So they're going to deter Russia with increased sanctions. They're going to crack down on Iran, which will make Russia afraid of supporting Iran. They're going to separate China and Russia somehow, even though they vowed a no-limit partnership. You have Vladimir Putin that said he prefers Kamala. Remember, I reported on this multiple times. Despite what the mainstream media said, Putin said he prefers Biden and Kamala. Why would Putin prefer Biden and Kamala? Because Biden and Kamala is predictable. And he outmaneuvered Biden and Kamala on the world stage. Putin does not trust Donald Trump. Despite Russiagate, he views Donald Trump as extremely unpredictable, someone who will say something to the American people, but you act completely different. This has been the position of Vladimir Putin. And this is why. Donald Trump hired, and I'll mention this briefly, Mike Waltz, his national security advisor. So for all the people who think Trump is going to end the Ukraine war, you guys understand his position. Mike Waltz said last week that the United States, and big shout out to Rachel Blevin for highlighting this, he said the United States should remove the restrictions on Ukraine's long-range missiles. So he advocated for Ukraine to attack Russian long-range missiles, nuclear sites, which will only escalate World War III even further. The position of Donald Trump and his neocons was, we're going to force Russia and China to separate because we're going to increase sanctions on Russia and make it so unbearable that they're going to want to run to go to business with us. This is what Vivek Ramaswamy said. This is the foreign policy vision of MAGA. That is absolutely not going to happen. The only thing that's going to happen is Trump is going to be fucking destroyed. and this is based on everything I hear from Maga, Putin is going to wreck him, guys. Xi Jinping is going to wreck him on the geopolitical world stage, and it's going to be absolutely glorious. Now, Jamie, anything you want to say on this? I'm gonna try to do this Bernie segment quickly.
I'm good.
Let me show you guys this. Let's see if I can find an article. Because Bernie Sanders is now changing his gimmick. He goes through a gimmick change, a face turn, as I call it. You guys know my brothers, and I would say myself, I like pro wrestling. I think it's fun. You have baby faces and you have heels. When a Democrat is in charge, Bernie Sanders go full heel in order to protect the Democratic Party. Bernie Sanders told you with a straight motherfucking face that Bernie Sanders was the new FDR. We showed this on our show. Actually, fuck, I'll show you again. I found the receipt. Here's Bernie Sanders 10 days ago before the election. I will get Andre a shout out because he's the reason why I found this. I'll give Andre a shout out for this clip. 10 days ago, Biden was talking about how Biden is the most progressive president since FDR. He was saying stuff like, man, I'm so proud of all the work we've done, because it's about promoting himself. At the time when Democrats was in charge, he wanted to get the publicity for getting stuff done. And now Democrats lost, he wanted to throw them under the bus.
I believe that President Biden in many ways has been the most progressive, pro-worker president since FDR. I believe
the most pro-worker president. I'll play it again because only 7. Here's Bernie Sanders before the election. This is Bernie Sanders when he thought that Kamala Harris was going to win. One more time. Here it is.
I believe that President Biden in many ways has been the most progressive, pro-worker president since FDR. I believe that.
That's what Bernie Sanders says before the election. And now Bernie Sanders is now going through his face change, realizing that Democrats are completely irrelevant now. They're politically sunk. So now that it's safe, to criticize the Democratic Party, now all of a sudden, Bernie Sanders is saying stuff like the Democratic Party abandoned the working class people. But you supported the Joe Biden agenda. So does that mean you abandoned the working class people? What does the Democratic Party stand for? Bernie asked. As if you don't know, the Democratic Party stands for sending endless amount of money to the Ukrainian Nazis, which you supported, by the way. You support Bernie, that was you. You supported that. You supported sending hundreds of billions of dollars, over $100 billion to Ukraine. But now you were talking about how the Democrats abandoned the working class people. So now Bernie is pretending to care now. Bernie just now realized he's a progressive again, James. And you want to know who's there to help him spread his bullshit propaganda? I saw Kyle Kalinske. I saw all look at the TYT headline. And I'm showing you guys how they work you. I'm showing you guys how the Bernie industrial complex, which we coined on RBN, we are showing you guys how they work, you motherfuckers. Because now that Democrats lost, you have TYT put out this video. Welcome back, Bernie. Welcome back, Bernie. You guys see, I quickly decided to show you guys this. If you look at Kyle Kalinske, he has a video as well. Bernie Sanders ripped the DNC establishment. Bernie Sanders is back. All these Bernie bros on Twitter are now celebrating, saying stuff like, Bernie is back, bruh. We believed in you, Bernie. We knew you didn't abandon us. I'm not even gonna clip this video, but you see this shit? You guys see the narrative that comes from Bernie supporters? Welcome back, Bernie. And so, after ignoring the story for quite some time, I decided to watch one of the videos with Bernie Sanders, quote unquote, bashes the Democratic Party. And let me tell you, James, the amount of people who misrepresented this story is something else. Because if you call what I am about to show you bashing, you have a very liberal interpretation of what bashing means. So I'm going to show you this clip from CNN that circulated everywhere. And I have a viral tweet that I will show you, but I think I'll show you guys again. I had a viral tweet that went pretty well, where I said, wait until Bernie Sanders, or wait till Trump wins, all of a sudden Bernie Sanders is going to start tweeting about Medicare for all. All of a sudden, this motherfucker enthusiastic about Medicare for all again. So I'm going to let it play. JB, feel free to interrupt me, but for a second time, I'm going to try to let a lot of it play because I already broke down a
with
lot.
their repudiation at the ballot box, independent Senator Bernie Sanders issued a particularly blistering statement this week, accusing Democrats of abandoning the working class. And Senator Bernie Sanders is here with me now. Hello, Senator. Congratulations on your reelection. Nice to have you here. I want to start with the scathing response that you gave after the Democrats lost, Kamala Harris lost pretty big. You said the Democrats abandoned the working class. The chairman of the DNC called it straight up BS and said Joe Biden is the most pro-worker president of my lifetime. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she disagreed with you. She added, quote, Bernie Sanders has not won. Do you stand by what you said?
Oh, absolutely. Look, Joe Biden is a friend of mine. I've been proud to work with him on an agenda which has been very strongly in favor of the working class.
This is a very weird way to bash him, huh? Isn't it, JB? So all the headlines you guys have been hearing about Bernie Sanders bashing the Democratic Party, and let me rewind this and show you what he actually fucking said. This man, everyone, TYT put out a video saying, Bernie's back! Bernie's back, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, the first thing he said is, I'm still proud of the work that me and Biden done. I think we delivered on the working class people. Then who are you talking about then, motherfucker? You guys see how he's talking out of both sides of his mouth here? JB, do you want to chime in? I saw you on mute.
Did he just?
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
But listen, he didn't go. You got to realize that Bernie Sanders didn't go 30 seconds before he complimented Joe Biden. Maybe he forgot to train that reflex out. Let me show you guys that again. And this is the story that everyone said Bernie Sanders is trashing the Democratic Party. And listen to what he actually fucking said.
Nancy Pelosi said she disagreed with you. She added, quote, Bernie Sanders has not won. Do you stand by what you said?
Oh, absolutely. Look, Joe Biden is a friend of mine. I've been proud to work with him on an agenda which has been very strongly in favor of the working class. Biden promised to be the most progressive president since FDR. In many ways, on domestic issues, I think he kept his word. But
is this Bernie Sanders criticizing the Democratic Party? What the fuck? So this is Bernie Sanders doubling down. Oh yeah, I agree, man. I think the Democratic Party betrayed the working class people, but the work that we did with Joe Biden, bro, we killed it. What? This is inherently incoherent. This is a completely. Meanwhile, among the dumb left, you have Sam Cedar, Kyle Kulinski, Cenk Uygur. They are all putting out videos saying Bernie Sanders is back. Bernie Sanders fucking burns down the Democrat. No, he didn't. No, the fuck he didn't. Every interview he put on said, I think Joe Biden actually did a good job. So let's hear what he actually said. JB, feel free to interrupt me anytime.
Yeah, this is like saying, man, I'm going to starve you to death, but then you keep giving me spoons of food.
Do you guys see why I'm getting at here? Do you guys see why I never understand why people pretend this guy is back? As if this motherfucker is not going to inevitably endorse Pete Buttigieg in 2028.
Oh, Lord, don't.
You guys know it's going to happen. You guys know it's going to happen. Pete Buttigieg, he has a working class agenda, a working class vision for this country. I think we need to go to a progressive shift and elect our very first gay man as president. You already know Bernie Sanders is going to say some shit like that. Anyway, let's continue. I'm actually curious. Let's see what Rusty says here. But he immediately lost me. Like the first 2 minutes, it's completely delegitimized everything he just says.
And by what you said?
Oh, absolutely. Look, Joe Biden is a friend of mine. I've been proud to work with him on an agenda which has been very strongly in favor of the working class. Biden promised to be the most progressive president since FDR. In many ways, on domestic issues, I think he kept his word. But here is the reality. The working class of this country is angry, and they have a reason to be angry. We are living in an economy today, Donna, where the people on top are doing phenomenally well.
There you go.
while
There you go.
60%
Guys, he bringing
of
back
our
the
people-
stump. He bringing back the stump speech.
Why are they mad, Bernie? Because if you did what you were supposed to do with Joe Biden, why are they still mad? This is the thing that chaps my ass. Because people like him will say, well, we did all these great things. And it's like, okay, why are people still mad? Why are people angry? Why is the prices still up? Why are people still suffering from having their rent so high? Why are people struggling to pay their electric bill? Why are people struggling to pay their gas? Why are people struggling to get groceries? Can you explain that, Bernie? Because the problem is we don't see any solutions here. I don't look at my wallet and go, oh, look, an extra $500.
Yep. Bernie is right, James.
God. This dude is just he's look, bro, this is manipulation. This is manipulation at the highest order. He is telling you to your face that, oh, well, we did a great job, when in reality, they sucked.
So Bernie brings up how the workers was angry under the Biden administration. And remember how the workers was so angry that the railroad workers decided to go on strike? You're right, Bernie. The workers was angry. They were so angry they decided to go on strike. And then you supported Joe Biden breaking their strike. Anyway, let's continue. We're only going to watch a little bit more. There's a certain point I'm waiting for.
Where the people on top are doing phenomenally well, while 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. 25% of elderly people are trying to get by on $15,000 a year or less. We have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth, and parents all over this country worry that their kids may have a...
Now you are talking about childhood poverty. Remember how he was saying how Joe Biden lifted children out of poverty? Now that the Democrats lost, all of a sudden this motherfucker talking about childhood poverty. You guys was the people that was praising the Democrats for lifting children out of poverty. I'll let it continue.
Lower standard of living than they do. That is the economic reality. And what Donald Trump did is provided an explanation. He went around, he said, I know you're angry. And the reason is that zillions of illegal immigrants are coming over and they're eating your cats and dogs and everything else. That's the reason. Well, obviously, that is not the reason. The reason is, in my view, that we have an unprecedented level of corporate greed today, more income and wealth inequality, and people on top want it all. And we need an agenda that says to the working class, we're going to take on these powerful special interests and create an economy and a government that works for you. And by the way, that can't happen unless you get big money out of politics. We got to get rid of the Citizens United Supreme Court decision so billionaires do not continue to buy elections.
And I know that you heard President Biden and Vice President Harris tout over and over the record of supporting workers, helping the middle class, some of the things that you were instrumental in helping pass, like lowering the cost of insulin. You saw the president walking a...
You see how the United States is the most propagandized country in the world? You would think that Dana Bash is Joe Biden's press secretary. Aren't you a journalist? Why is your reflex when one politician criticizes the other politician is to defend the record of the politician? Do you guys see who they work for? You guys see how Dana Bash to me like, oh wait, don't you know Biden did this? Biden did this? Not even trying to be anything other than state news.
Instrumental in helping pass, like lowering the cost of insulin. You saw the president walking a picket line. They forgave student loan debt as much as they could. You said yourself in July that he had a strong record, which you just repeated here. So it sounds like it's not maybe as much about policies and more about messaging and communication.
It's not messaging, Donna. It's a fundamental understanding of saying, look, the Biden administration has done a lot of good things.
Is this Bernie criticizing the Democrat Party? Like, guys, it's constant throughout this interview where Bernie keep bringing up, oh, I think he did good things, actually. Are you criticizing them or not, sir? And look at what Dana's response, the media response is, hey, man, are you sure that it was the Democratic Party's neoliberal policies? Or is it they doing a bad job lying to the workers about their policies? Are you supposed to be a journalist? These people are state stenographers. But I'll let it continue because I agree with Bernie on his argument about Trump making the argument to the working class That's what neoliberal does. Neoliberalism, as we explained in Marxism, they inevitably lead to fascism because they're not here to give workers an explanation over why their quality of life is falling. So the workers inevitably lead to a fascist. Our theory of change relies on us having a revolution before late-stage capitalism descends into fascism. We either have fascism or we have revolution. So that's all. We already knew that. Anyway, I'll let it continue. Let me continue.
Period. We should all be proud of that. But it has to be put in the broad context of the reality of the American economy today. And that is when you have 3 people on top owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society. When you have millions and millions of people working for starvation wages, you got to speak to that reality. So you could say, look, we're proud of what we have accomplished, but we have so much more to do to create.
How is this a criticism, James? You see all them headlines of Bernie Sanders torches the Democratic Party? Where? Well, my interpretation is if I didn't see any of the headlines, I would have described this interview as Bernie Sanders defends Biden's positions. I would not write a headline that says Bernie trashes the Democratic Party. That's just me, though, maybe.
Wait, this is like somebody saying, oh my God, Bernie ran a fade on the Democratic Party. Meanwhile, when you look at Bernie, he's playing patty cake with the Democrats. That's running a fade, you fool. That's you playing patty cake.
Yep. This is a really weak promo. I'm glad we got some more fans in here. There'll be a very weak promo. Let's continue. I'm sorry I went a little bit longer, but there's a certain place I'm waiting for.
Millions and millions of people working for starvation wages. You got to speak to that reality. So you could say, look, we're proud of what we've accomplished, but we have so much more to do to create the kind of government and nations that work for all of us and not just the few. That's my critique. It's not that the Biden administration did not do a lot of good things, but it has to be put into an overall context where in the last 50 years, if you can believe it, real inflation accounted for weekly wages are lower today than they were 50 years. A massive transfer of wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1%. That's not Joe Biden's fault. It's not Trump's fault. That's what's gone on for 50 years. Recognize it. Deal with it. Tell the working class that you understand what is going on in their lives. You're going to fight for them.
The former aide to John Fetterman and Harry Reid, Adam Jenelson, told the Washington Post that Democrats are preoccupied with the narrow interest of college-educated elite activists more than everyday working people. Do you agree with that?
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying here, is that the vast 60% of our people live in paycheck to paycheck. How do we not talk and fight for raising the minimum wage to a living wage? Dana, on Tuesday in the election in the state of Missouri, a conservative state, they became one of the many states that voted, I think, 58% to raise the minimum wage. Now, how is it that in Congress and the Senate, we haven't even brought a damn minimum wage bill onto the floor? We are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a human right. The Affordable Care Act
listen to
is a stopgap measure. It is not addressing the real health care crisis in America. Why aren't we saying yes?
Where was this? You guys see how he advocated for health care? And I noticed something on the second playthrough. He still didn't say Medicare for all. He still didn't actually say the words Medicare for all. You know what I mean? So now Biden is out of office. Now all of a sudden you're criticizing Democrats for not supporting the minimum wage. Now all of a sudden you're critical of us not having health care after you ignored this issue for years? All right. I think I made my point. All right, we can begin wrap up. JB, any last thoughts on this segment? Any last thoughts you want to share?
Bernie Sanders is the John Quincy Adams of our day. Margaret Kimberly puts it so well. I love this book. Adams held a Northerner's point of view during his time in political office. He was an accommodationist on the issue of slavery. For too long, people like Adams have been given credit that they didn't deserve. While abolitionists began to speak openly about ending slavery, people like Adams considered themselves revolutionary by talking about incremental changes that limited the practice of slaveholding even though they did not do anything substantive to end the practice. Bernie Sanders is the 21st century version of John Quincy Adams. So when people talk to me about, oh, well, Bernie's a socialist. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's nowhere near. And the thing is, like, when it comes to change, he is an incrementalist just like they are. He may want to give you bigger crumbs, but he still wants to give you crumbs nonetheless. And this is why we talk about people need to walk away from him as well. Because Bernie Sanders is just a Democrat with an I next to his name. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. You got to look at the people. You got to look how they move and look not just what they say, but what they do. And people are basically looking at Bernie Sanders the same way that they look at Donald Trump.
Yep. Very well said. We can begin to wrap up now. Oh, yeah. Caitlin Johnstone, the homie, by the way. Does anyone know if Nick has ever met or yeah, Caitlin Johnstone's a homie. She's the homie. She gave us shout outs on Twitter. I love her work. She's probably one of my favorite writers, easily. So yeah, Caitlin Johnstone's cool. I invited her on, but she don't like doing interviews. You know what I mean? She's more of a writer. But yeah, she's cool as fuck. I love Caitlin Johnstone. Bro, you guys are already in the lab cooking. I saw this meme, Nick laughing at liberals. Bro, I've been having so much fun laughing at these MAGA people on Twitter. And you want to know what I find now that I shit on MAGA a little bit? MAGA in general is actually way less culty than liberals. There actually a few of them like, hey, Nick, come on, man, you being mean. But they're not like canceling me over it. At least MAGA is like, they actually way nicer than liberals because I have been going pretty hard. Yeah. Not one of them called me a fucking Uncle Tom traitor like liberals. None of them gave me death threats thus far. You know what I mean? So I guess I say something nice about MAGA as I wrap up since I shit on them all day. I believe, and I guess it's kind of controversial me saying this, but I do think they're way less culty than liberals in general because you're seeing MAGA actually, they're very upset. A lot of them are very upset about Trump's cabinet picks. So as Trump supporters are criticizing Trump for his cabinet picks, we couldn't even get Democrats and progressives to lead the Democratic Party over a genocide. You know what I mean? So I give it props for at least being less culty, I guess. And some MAGA people on Twitter's handling my criticism well. I hope you guys keep it up. But that's all I have to say. I'm just joking now. I'm just talking shit now. I'll read the last few super chats, and JB, I'll pass it to you for our shout out for Patreon. Mike Huckabee, I announced this earlier. Mike Huckabee is Donald J. Trump's Israel ambassador. Yeah, it get worse by the hour. I said in my hotspot video, I predicted it when I talk about the Mike Pompeo rumor. I said in my hotspot video, and we posted this on Twitter, even if Donald Trump doesn't pick Mike Pompeo, he's gonna fill that swamp. They now actually got to pull up the image I found. Actually, wonder what Hotspot been tweeting. Hotspot been covering this very closely as well. So I'll put Hotspot in the background as we read super chats, I guess. Donald J. Trump never drained the swamp and committed war crime crap from 2016 to 2020. Why would anyone think it'd be different this time? Absolutely. And Rathbone is a homie. He is the homie. I think JB, I think you interviewed him before, right? I never interviewed him, but we cool as fuck on Twitter and everything.
Yeah.
Rathbone, he was banned on TikTok. He had a fat ass account, and TikTok is straight up ass now. Like the TikTok owners got scared, and now like TikTok is worse than like Facebook. Like it's like one of the worst. And JB, remember I put my hotspot video on TikTok. Immediately, every single time I post them, they get pulled. TikTok is a censorship hellhole. I saw another influencer who was friends with RBN. I forgot her name, but she got big, kind of about to be banned. This whole thing about TikTok being like this bastion where Gen Zers are being radicalized, I honestly don't see it, bro. I'm not seeing it. Like my TikTok has been, it's a fucking censorious hellhole, the same as Facebook, Instagram. I never understood how Rathbone and them even existed, like as communists and anti. I never been able to exist on TikTok.
It was before the Project Texas, before they switched and essentially stripped the ownership of TikTok away from ByteDance like that, and so essentially they made sure that TikTok is now an American ran entity when it was ByteDance and when it was a Chinese ran entity. You could actually talk about revolution and you could talk about socialist and communist ideals and you can get big numbers. But then once they started to take over, they suppressed the socialist and communist accounts very heavily. This is why, like, my average video on TikTok will get about 200 views, when in reality, if we weren't under this suppression, I'd probably get like 2,000, 2,000 to 4,000 views. And that's just a random video. That's not me even really trying. So
yeah. All right, I think I can wrap up now. I think we caught up with super chats. I'll be live tomorrow with Midwestern Marks. What time is that, Zoya? I think it's
the CEO was Singaporean, but ByteDance itself was a Chinese company.
Yeah. So, hey guys, people keep talking about how I'm gonna show this real quick. China is less censored than America. Yeah, like they had a BRICS summit in what was it, Kazan, Russia, and CNN was reporting there. Let me repeat: they had a BRICS summit in Russia, and CNN was there reporting it. Crazy. I thought Putin cracked down on the media. You know, RT can't exist in the United States and UK now. So if there was a G7 summit at the UK, you won't have RT on the ground covering it because they're banned essentially all across Europe. So as white Americans and white people keep telling themselves that the West is the land of the free and it's the dirty Russians, it's the dirty Chinese who don't support the free press, there's no one who are more anti-free press than the United States. You understand that? Anyway, JB, I'll pass you for Patreon. I think I'm done. I don't got anything else. I'll be back tomorrow, so I'll be streaming tomorrow as well. So we got back-to-back bangers. I'm glad you joined me today, James. It's always fun when you join my show. It's always fun, man. I'll pass to you for Patreon if you want to do that, or whatever you want to read. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. If we're done with super chats, then let me check on the Rockfin just to make sure we don't have any tips. Looks like we're pretty good on Rockfin. So yeah, we're good. We don't have any tips there. Yeah. Now we can go into the patron shout out, just to shout out the patrons and let them know how much we care, right? So shout out to all the patrons on Patreon, because without you guys we would not be able to do this type of work. We actually do this work on the ground, as well as bring the news to you from a worker-centered perspective. So if you guys have not already, you guys can always go to Patreon. As you guys see scrolling at the bottom of the screen.
Oh yeah, let me say this as well, JB, before I forget. I'm sorry, I almost forgot. Mm-hmm. Also in the description, we have the GoFundMe for Brother Rome. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people have been asking about this. Obviously, we can't talk about what's going on with Rome for legal reasons. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it also hurts too much. Like I have a very hard time processing what happened to Rome, my brother. So mm-hmm. Not only, I'll be 100%, not only because of legal reasons, I also have a hard time talking about it because it hurts. You know what I mean? So if you want to support my brother Rome, that we have the GoFundMe in the description as well. So sorry to interrupt you. I almost forgot, but I will make sure I shout that out. Go ahead, JB.
No, yeah. So as far as that's already in the description for Rome. So if you guys would like to, you guys can also go into the description of the video. The link to his GoFundMe is there. Of course, we have to be kind of vague for legal purposes, but there you go right there. Also, just to let you guys know, I will be on my channel doing further reading. I do readings on my channel. If you guys would like to, you guys can go there. I did the reasoning for Prejudicial by Margaret Kimberly. And also tomorrow's premiering for Of Water and the Spirit. And so I read these books on my channel as well. But with that being said, I should be back to my regularly scheduled streaming on Sunday for the JB show, and then next week on Tuesday for my channel on the JB Font channel. So please look out for those. And by the way, also I'll be back for Sabby and JB show this Thursday. So you guys will see me with Sabby Sabs.
Awesome. We definitely looking forward to that. So I'll be in the stream now. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Make sure you guys check out me tomorrow, Sabby Sabs and JB on Thursday. I'll be joining with Midwestern Marks. Thank you guys. Peace out. Have a good one.